I wanted to address something that is just going around the astrology consumer community like wildfire. And I believe there's some hype and misinformation and confusion. And so this is why I'm doing this video. Okay. As you probably know, tomorrow, July 15th, there is an exact conjunction between Mars in the sky and Uranus at 26 degrees Taurus, which is conjunct the fixed star Algol. Algol is the most malefic fixed star that we have, arguably. And Mars and Uranus together is an extremely volatile combination. And so there's just, I think that people are overemphasizing this fixed star connection and not looking at it holistically. And that is the reason why I'm doing this video. And I'm going to try to keep it short, guys, because I have a class to teach. I'm going to share my screen. We are going to be talking about Donald Trump's birth chart, not politics. Zero interest in the politics. This is about astrology. This is about why I want you to fully understand and assess your birth chart, or have an astrologer do it before you jump to conclusions and think that something horrendous is going to happen to you that is not survivable, as an extreme example. All right. So Donald Trump obviously had an assassination attempt. He could have been killed and he wasn't. Why? Are you wondering why? Why did he survive? Right? Astrologically, that combination of Mars and Uranus conjunct his midheaven, the highest point in his chart, career, public image, and making a direct square to Mars in his own birth chart is a recipe for disaster, and absolutely is the reason why the attempt was even triggered, why it happened when it happened, because this energy is exact mathematically right now. But everybody's emphasizing Algol without looking at the rest of the birth chart. And this is a huge mistake. And I already did 2 videos on the conjunction of Mars and Uranus by itself in the sky, and why you can't just look at this conjunction, find it in your chart, and automatically assume it's going to be disastrous. Because you have to look at what that conjunction is plugging into in your birth chart. And I specifically went through when you should worry, when you should not, in my first video on this. And I will try to remember to link it in the description box if you're interested. We're not going to cover that now. I'm going to talk to you about some other fixed stars and some other energies in astrology that everybody who's talking about Algol is talking about Algol because, yes, that is the fixed star that this conjunction is happening at. And yes, it is a malefic fixed star. But let's not forget that when you're looking at your personal birth chart, you may have some other planets, some other placements in your birth chart at one of the other many fixed stars that happen to be extremely protective. And my hypothesis is that this is probably why Donald Trump survived. So let's take a look at his chart. Let's do a little rundown. Before I start sharing my screen and show you everything I'm going to show you, I do want to introduce myself. Hello there. My name is Maria Di Simone. I am a professional astrologer. You can find out more about me and my work at insightfulastrology.com, where I have an entire school teaching classes from the beginner's level all the way through advanced. And I offer personal consultations. Right now, registration is open for my Aspects in Astrology class, where I teach you how to connect the dots into meaningful horoscope analysis. These classes are personalized using your charts and the homework assignments and the lesson plans, recorded on Zoom. So if you can't attend live, do not worry, you'll get the recordings. Right now, there is a $50 early bird registration tuition discount available on my website. So go and claim your spot now if you're interested. This class will not be offered again until late 2025. You must already know planet signs, houses, basic structure of the birth chart if you want to register for this class. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at Donald Trump's birth chart first to orient ourselves. And this is public information. He has a AA rated chart. Astrologers use websites like Astro.com, Astro Databank for birth data. I'm just simplifying the wheel here. so that we can look at things in a little bit of a clearer way. So let's get down to business. Verified birth time, verified birth chart. And what we are focusing on is this. This is the midheaven of Donald Trump. Midheaven again, fame, reputation, status, career, your highest point for all of you, for all of us. It's the same meaning. That's what the midheaven is. Your public image, all of that. And we have the Mars-Uranus conjunction right around here, 26 degrees. So it's conjunct or next to his midheaven. And what is happening in his personal astrology, what that means is that Donald Trump has Uranus by transit at his midheaven, which is the bigger transit. That's what he's experiencing. He is having transiting Uranus conjunct the midheaven, but simultaneously it is making a square to Mars in his birth chart. Mars is at just under 27 degrees of Leo. And traditionally, squares between Uranus and Mars are very difficult. This is accidents, chaos, sudden reversals, sudden violence, okay, literally, because Mars is inflaming the chaos of Uranus in a difficult way. And Mars is war and anger. And so that is a literal manifestation of this for anybody. But for Donald Trump, it's happening connected to his public image, career, and physical identity, because the Mars is conjunct his ascendant, and the ascendant is an identity point. It is a point where your soul enters the physical body. So this is part of your physical body as well. So that square by transit. So he has transiting Uranus conjunct the midheaven, one potentially difficult transit by itself. It could also be a sudden rise to fame, anything like that. But we also have the square to Mars. And the square to Mars is what's making it difficult. So what's triggering this is that Mars in the sky right now is at about the same degree as Uranus, 26 degrees, moving to 26 degrees of Taurus. And transiting Mars, I teach this to all of my students when we learn predictive astrology. Transiting Mars is a trigger planet. When you are looking at a bigger cycle, like transiting Uranus conjunct the midheaven or transiting Uranus square natal Mars, you're going to get 3 mathematical hits of this over a 9-month period or so. And you want to know, well, okay, if this is happening 9 months, over a year, year and a half, depending on what cycles we're looking at, what planets, when is the event actually going to happen? When is it going to pop? How you know when it's going to pop, one of the ways, there are other ways, but one of the ways that astrologers use to figure out when a bigger transit is actually going to manifest is good old transiting Mars, because Mars by transit stimulates, aggravates, inflames, excites, it triggers. And so that's what happened yesterday when we have now Mars conjunct Uranus. It was right on his midheaven, making that square to his Mars placement natally. So let me just tell you that everybody is focusing on the fixed star Algol here, and how Algol symbolizes losing your head, and it's a malefic fixed star, and blah, blah, blah. But in his birth chart, a couple of things. It was squaring his natal Mars, which Mars rules the head in astrology, in medical astrology. Mars rules the head, not the fixed star Algol. Mars actually rules the head in astrology. So the Uranus-Mars conjunction was squaring his natal Mars placement, and Mars is placed conjunct his ascendant, which is his physical body identity. So I wanted to make that clarification. The fixed star Algol is symbolic about losing your head and about having some difficulty. And while it could be true, you have to keep things in perspective. It definitely has caused disaster. But why didn't he get shot in the head and die? That's the million-dollar question, okay? And the answer has to do with, I believe, a couple of other placements in his birth chart. And I am by no means an expert in fixed stars. I've had podcasts where I've had guests on to talk about it. I have a few books in my library. I'm going to show you a website so that you can do your own research. But before you freak out and think that this conjunction on Algol is going to ruin your life. Because remember, transiting Uranus, Mars is leaving, but transiting Uranus is going to be hanging around that fixed star Algol for the next 9 months or so. I don't have my ephemeris in front of me, but it's going to be there. It's, Mars might be leaving, but Uranus is staying. Uranus is going to be at this fixed star back and forth until May of 2025. Actually, I'm going to say even we'll see it January, February of 2026, it'll be within orb. Okay, so we have a long way to go of the planet Uranus being at this fixed star Algol. Long way to go. And I don't want all of you out there thinking that just because you're having a Uranus transit conjunct a planet or a point in your chart to Algol, that a major impending disaster is going to happen in your life. That may or may not be the case. We don't know unless we're looking at everything in your birth chart, what that transit of Uranus conjunct your planet in Algol is doing in the rest of your chart, okay? In Donald Trump's chart, it could have been the worst case scenario, absolutely, without a doubt. But there are some mitigations. If we're going to focus on the fixed stars, then I'm going to use the fixed stars to explain these mitigations. I'm going to call your attention to two of his placements. One is his ascendant at 29 degrees, 57 minutes of Leo, and the other is his sun sign at 22 degrees, 56 minutes of Gemini. Now, there are a slew of fixed stars, and there are a particular cluster of fixed stars known as the Behanian fixed stars. I may be saying them wrong. And these are a cluster of fixed stars that many astrologers work with. There's a big history to them. Look this up. Again, I am not an expert on fixed stars, but I am trying to make you understand why Donald Trump may have been protected and why historically in his life, with everything that he has experienced, he tends to be protected. And this could be why. He has placements at extraordinarily benefic and protective fixed stars. So we're going to talk about Regulus first, because this is the most popular one. 29-ish degrees of Leo is connected to the fixed star Regulus. And Regulus is a very benevolent, noble, generous fixed star that is known to bring eminence. It is known to bring fame, honor, wealth, nobility. Okay, now I'm going to stop my screen share for a second, just because I'm going to show you a website now. I'm going to take you to the Astrology King's website. Okay, so just go to the astrologyking.com and Google your fixed stars. I'm not going to spend time on Algol. We already did the little rundown, but here's Regulus. And I'm just going to go, it's one of the royal stars. And I'm just going to look at a couple of key phrases that are said about Regulus for you to understand. This star imparts to its natives martial honors, great authority, success, a fondness for power and authority, the ability to command, a native who appears to be grandly liberal, high-spirited native, independence, benefits that seldom last, victory over enemies, scandalous actions, turbulence, violence, failures, and greatness that suffers an eclipse. So Regulus is associated with a fall from grace if you abuse your power generally, but the other side of Regulus is that it is an extremely protective fixed star. And he has this fixed star conjunct his ascendant, which is a physical part. It is where the soul enters your body. It is a super important part of your horoscope. And so he has this major protectiveness there with that fixed star Regulus, but that's not all he has. His sun sign at around 22 and change, just under 20, I think it's, let me just go back to his chart real quick. I think it is 22 degrees, 56 minutes of Gemini. It is conjunct two other benefic fixed stars. The first is known as, I may be saying it wrong, Phact, P-H-A-C-T. So that is a fixed star that gives beneficence, hopefulness, and good fortune. That is one of the fixed stars that his sun in Gemini is conjunct. But there's another one, and it is called Capella, C-A-P-E-L-L-A. And Capella is a fixed star that gives honor, wealth, eminence, renown, a public position of trust and eminent friends. It is an extremely protective fixed star. It is my hypothesis that because Donald Trump has in his natal birth chart 3 extraordinarily protective fixed stars conjunct major points in his horoscope that connect to his physical self, 2 conjunct the sun, 1 conjunct the ascendant. I do believe that that could be why he survived. Why, even though this was in his chart, an absolute disaster waiting to happen, and it's not over yet by any means, because he still has a couple more hits of this transit to get through. Although transiting Mars won't be there, doesn't mean that something else isn't going to trigger it. But he has that protection. So what's the point of the story, ladies and gentlemen? The point of the story is, as you are consuming your astrology content and learning about astrology in bits and pieces, please be judicious. Please do so wisely. Please do not take one little nugget of what any astrologer says in one little video, including me, and think that that is it, that that is the be all, the end all, the gospel, and the full takeaway. Because I promise you it is not. And I promise you that the great majority of wonderful astrologers out here putting out this information for your benefit are not intending for you to focus, hyper focus on one little part of astrology, because we all know as astrologers that it is much more than one single planet or point or fixed star or aspect to look at. We, as the astrologers, know how to connect the dots, how to put all of it together into nuanced analysis and interpretation and prediction. And so I just felt like I needed to address that, because I have been getting so many comments about the fixed star Algol and why wasn't I talking about that as extensively. This is the reason. It is literally for this reason. So I hope you understand that. I hope you know that, you know, just because I say something doesn't mean that I'm the only astrologer saying it. By no means. No. Our astrology community, I can guarantee you this. We are all thinking the same thing. We are all looking at the same astrology and coming up with similar conclusions, because we are using the same tools. We just have different ways of expressing it. So there are many astrologers that are making predictions right now about the political part of this. That's their jam. I'm more about personal astrology, about what astrology means for you, for me, in your actual real life. I'm about that real life personal astrology. So the takeaway is, pay attention to your birth chart. And before you guys freak out about transiting Uranus, making this conjunction to Algol over the next year and change, on and off, and what that could do to your chart, look at everything. Understand everything. Look and see, does your chart have other fixed stars that are protecting? Look and see, does that conjunction of Uranus to your planet, does it plug into something positive in your birth chart? Look and see, is there a mitigation? Is there a bigger progression, eclipse, solar arc pattern, something else that is so beautiful that it is going to overpower that Uranus transit? Because there's a gradient of what is important. And that Uranus transit, believe it or not, might not be the most important thing happening in your chart over the next year. Although it could possibly be, because it's an outer planet, and outer planets to personal planets are hugely life-changing. It doesn't have to be the boss. We have to look at everything. And that is why if you are consuming astrology content in a very shallow, superficial way, you're never going to get the meaning intended. And you really should consider studying it deeper or hiring a professional who can do it for you. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. And remember, keep all those comments respectful, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.